Hello everyone, I'm DC. Stage 4 cancer smashed my body and my life twice in 2 years. I did 3 years of brutal chemotherapies that left me pretty much paralyzed and in bed for years more. My brain and all my other organs were completely cooked. I was barely breathing, but now, 10 years in remission, medication free, these 8 habits, these 8 science-backed habits, not only saved my life, but are restoring my health as well. And number 1 is pretty wild. You're going to love it. So stick around. I've been fighting this for 13 years, and this is what works for me. Welcome everyone. Have you ever been told that there's just nothing you can do about it? Have you ever felt like you just can't get back up? Like getting out of bed was pointless, fighting was useless, and nothing will work anyway. Just waking up was depressing. Well, I've been there. I was crushed. I was completely crushed. At 38 and again at 41, I was toast. But now at 51, I'm kicking butt, rebuilding my health, and rebuilding my life. And I'm doing it with these 8 science-backed habits. And in my next video, I'm going to show you how you can do 4 of these habits together in just 15 minutes a day. So it doesn't have a lot of time commitment. So in no particular order, let's count down my 8 habits that have saved my life. Okay, so number 8 is strength training and just movement in general, exercise, but strength training in particular. I've been a strength coach for nearly 30 years, so it's one of my favorites. But apart from that, there are many benefits of strength training that go far beyond just the aesthetics and actually strength, obviously. But movement in general, we are built to move, and our lymphatic system and circulatory system are absolute proof of this. But there are great benefits to strength training. I'm not going to go too in-depth with all the reasons, but I'll just give you a list. And I do go more in-depth with other videos, so please feel free to check them out. So one of the most important ones, I think, is the circulation of the lymph fluid in the lymphatic system. Okay, hormone production, clearing dead cells and waste from our body and things like that. Next is, it's also great for deuterium depletion. Deuterium is something that I've spoken about on other videos as well, but I think a great resource for deuterium is Dr. Sarah Pugh and Professor Bart Kay and Jack Cruz and others. Blood circulation and blood production, so like red blood cells, white blood cells, and your platelets, these are all stimulated with strength training. Movement in general also stimulates it, but strength training in particular, the impact actually produces more. Strength training is also great for stimulating healthy adult stem cells, okay, which we all want. Now, all of that also contributes to growth, to all kinds of tissue growth. It includes connective tissue, bone tissue, and muscle tissue, of course. That in particular is very important, especially after chemotherapy treatments. Chemotherapy is one, very toxic, but it breaks down all those tissues very rapidly, and it also inhibits the future production of these cells and tissues that you need to rebuild. So I think strength training is absolutely vital and has been for my recovery as well. So even though I put it at number 8, I think that strength training in particular, but exercise in general, is one of the most important things that we could be doing for longevity and health. Okay, number 7 is heat and cold exposure. Now, many cultures around the world do both, and traditionally they've used hot springs, and in Japan they call them onsen. Now, traditionally they see them as places of healing because they have a natural high mineral content in the water, the heat draws out the toxins and you absorb the minerals in through your skin. And people that even drink the water because of its electrolyte content. And they've used onsen or hot springs for colds, viruses, even injuries, to draw out the toxins from the wounds so that it heals faster. But of course, not everyone has access to a hot spring. So I like to have a bath as hot as I can stand it for about 20 minutes with magnesium and potassium bath salts mixed in the water. Now, I just have it as hot as I can stand it, not to the point where I'm actually burning myself, okay? But it draws the toxins out of your body. Toxins that we get like from air pollution, food pollution, from, especially if you're on the standard Western diet, for example, and the toxins that we get from our water, drinking water as well. But apart from that, chemotherapies are extremely toxic to the body. So I think it's also a key part of healing from either going through chemotherapies or after chemotherapies. The toxins from chemotherapy will last for years later. So I think it's important for you to get it out of the body as much as you can. Hot baths like this are also very good for deuterium depletion. Now, deuterium is an isotope of hydrogen. It's twice the size, and it damages mitochondria when it gets into the ATP synthesis, leading to inflammation, cell damage, and diseases like cancer, diabetes, and more. On the flip side, though, a cold plunge does similar things, stimulating the lymphatic system. It also lowers inflammation and aids in recovery, and it's a technique that athletes have used for decades now as well, going from hot to cold, ice baths and things like that. Now, I know not everyone has access to a hot spring, obviously, or even a bathtub, but soaking in hot water is great. You can even use a shower for the contrast, use a hot shower and then a cold shower. I don't have an ice bath. I've always just used the shower, the straight cold water, especially after the hot bath. It's a great contrast from that extreme hot to extreme cold. So you get the same effect. I also like doing this while fasting. This will really help to stimulate all those systems in your body. But it can leave you a little bit dizzy for a little while, so you just have to take it easy when you do this. Okay, number 6 is grounding, and generally just being out in nature. Like grounding and sunlight and being part of something bigger. It just getting back to nature, it just feels good, and there's a reason for that. So whether it's like just barefoot in the grass, watching the sunrise, or just breathing fresh air, nature tends to reset us, our mood, and so on. But studies have actually shown that it lowers inflammation and boosts mood. And these are things that I've actually felt firsthand. Even a short walk can combine like grounding, sunlight, and movement, and it's all free and powerful. But research articles like from PubMed also show that direct contact with the Earth's surface affects inflammation, your immune responses, wound healing, and chronic diseases. It charges your mitochondria like batteries. Paired with sunlight, just 10 minutes a day barefoot on the grass really relaxes you. Combine it with deep breathing and other habits that I will be talking about in a minute, but these all cross over, and you can do, like I said before, you can do 4 of these inside 20 minutes a day, so it's not really a big time commitment. It measurably changes your white blood cell counts, cytokines, and inflammation markers. So these are vitally important for a cancer patient, especially post-chemotherapies. So I think that it is just another one of those great habits. It does overlap with some more that I'm talking about, but I think it deserves its own sort of explanation as well. Okay, so number 5 is circadian biology. So sunlight, blue light blocking, and red light therapy. Now, I always say that a good night's sleep starts with what you do first thing in the morning. And as soon as you wake up, get up and get outside and get as much natural light as possible, as soon as possible. And setting your body clock right sets up your hormone production for the whole day. So you want to produce cortisol in the morning to wake up and keep you alert when you go to work or go to school. And then as it gets darker later in the day, you want to produce melatonin so you start preparing to go to bed and get a good night's sleep and rest. Things that can throw that off, though, is unnatural light, especially LEDs, lots of blue light from computer screens, phones, and so on. But also taking supplements at different times of the day can throw off your hormone production. Also, what you eat and how often you eat can also affect your circadian biology and your hormone production throughout the day. Sunlight also stimulates the body to produce hormones from the liver, such as D3, your IGF hormones, and testosterone, which are all produced in cholesterol. D3 is important because it helps you absorb other nutrients. It's also part of your immune system. And it's also your natural sunscreen. When it comes out, when you sweat out in the sun, D3 actually comes to the surface of the skin and actually protects you from burning. So there's a number of great reasons why sunlight is great. But there's also the red light therapy. A lot of people are very keen on red light therapy at the moment, but you get much better red light therapy, a full range, a full spectrum of light from the sunlight, and it's free and it's very powerful. It also helps to recharge your mitochondria. Like I was talking about before with grounding, being in contact with the ground, it recharges your mitochondria. So does sunlight. And we actually get a lot of our energy production from the sun and being grounded. The circadian biology is very important. And number 4 is a good sleeping pattern. Now this is, I think, an imperative for everyone. This ties in with the circadian biology because it starts with what you do first thing in the morning. Setting your body clock right first thing in the morning really does tie in with giving you a good night's sleep. But there are other things you can put in place to help you at night, for like a sleep preparation routine that will help you get a decent night's sleep. But it's also one of the most important ones for general health and longevity. Most people don't put a lot of time or thought into it, and I'll admit, I was never a very good sleeper, especially in my younger years. I have an ADHD brain, so I'm always overthinking things at night, and I never really put much thought into the sleep either. So it wasn't very important to me before I was diagnosed. But now it's one of those things that I absolutely prioritize, and I have a good night routine to make sure that I do get a decent night's sleep. I won't go too deep into this, but there is a video I did. It's called 10 Tips to Help You Sleep. But a few things I do routinely to help me sleep better is, one, I like to write down a plan for the next day because it helps to calm my ADHD mind and stops me overthinking what I might do and what I want to do the next day. Another thing is I wear blue light blocking glasses. I use a red light bulb, and I try to avoid screens. I try not to do too much computer work or TV at night because we do absorb blue light and artificial light. We absorb it not only through our eyes but also through our skin, so that's why I use the bulbs as well. The best window for sleep is between 8 and 4 a.m. And there have been studies that have shown that the more hours you sleep before 12 and after 8, then the more effective your sleep is. And in fact, they believe that every hour that you sleep before 12 o'clock is equivalent to 2 hours of sleep. So I always try to have as many hours before 12 as possible, and my sleeping window is usually between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. Yeah, so for more tips on sleep, please check out my 10 tips to help you sleep video. There are routines in there that really do help me sleep. Okay, number 3 is fasting. Now, fasting, I started unintentionally when I was first diagnosed and I first started going through chemotherapies. The first one was R-CHOP. It was particularly heavy doses. I had lots of sores and I couldn't eat, and I kept bringing it up anyway. So it was something I did for at least the first week, sometimes week and a half after treatment. And it wasn't until much later that I realized that I studied the benefits. But fasting has a lot of great benefits actually, and I mean, for one, most people who are eating all day long, they never give their body the chance to rest, to recover from all that processing. So fasting is really good for that. But it's also great for autophagy. It's also, it's great for hormone production. It's another one that actually stimulates healthy adult stem cell production as well, and release and recovery, especially if you're fat adapted. And fasting also puts you into ketosis very quickly, where your liver produces more lipids and cholesterol boosting testosterone, D3. So great for your immune system and nutrient absorption. Because you're deeper into ketosis as well, you get more ketones to the brain, and you get that mental fog lift. You get more clarity as well. So it also lowers inflammation. It supports just overall health, really. Fasting is something that's actually been in many cultures around the world for different reasons and different they have religious reasons or just cultural reasons for fasting, but it actually has a lot of health benefits. Also, low carb diets like ketogenic diets also fasting mimicking. So it's not something that you have to do on a regular basis, but I do like to do fast every now and then. So every once a month or so I might do a 2 to 3 day fast, and maybe more often than that. So it just depends on my diet cycle at the time. But I don't recommend people try to force themselves. I think fasting should be done fairly comfortably. Okay, number 2 is breath work. Now, breath work, I've been doing this for 9 years out of the last 10 years in my remission. I think it's absolutely essential. Now, most people do not breathe properly these days. And when I started, I was very much paralyzed, stuck in bed. I couldn't breathe very well. I was always breathing through my mouth, and all of my muscles were so bound and tight that I really just could not breathe very well at all. A normal healthy person should only breathe about 6 reps per minute. But I was doing closer to 40 in the 30s. But there are also a lot of muscles involved in breathing, and like I said, I was very tight. My muscles couldn't move, couldn't function very well after the chemotherapy. I started very small. I first started this when I saw a podcast of talking to Wim Hof. Now, I couldn't do Wim Hof's method at the time, so I started with just 10 small breaths and a 10-second breath hold. And most of the important stuff happens actually through the breath hold as well. But this is a really good exercise for people who can't really move, but also all the way up to an elite athlete. I think it gives them a great edge. For a start, getting all those muscles moving again really helped to get my lymphatic system moving again as well, and pushing lymph fluid around my body, and also blood circulation and other things. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this because I do have breathwork videos that you can watch, and I will talk about all the other benefits that you get from breathwork. But I will say that it doesn't matter what level you are at. I think breathwork is absolutely essential, and certainly will give even athletes an extra edge, because breath work can increase your VO2 max. It actually has shown to improve red blood cell counts. Low oxygen tension stimulates HIF production, which stimulates the kidney to produce EPO. Now, this stimulates more red blood cell count being produced from your bone marrow, and that will increase oxygen uptake. And when we breathe in as well, the oxygen molecule mixes with the carbon molecules, our food, in the respiratory system, or the mitochondria, which produce CO2, ATP energy, and EZ water. Now, CO2 in our body actually regulates the uptake of oxygen to the red blood cells and delivers it to the cells in our body. And then when we breathe it out, it also carries with us the fat. So it's also great for fat loss. Breath work will actually speed up your fat loss. For every 10 kilos that we lose in body fat, 8.4 of those kilos are actually breathed out with CO2. The other 1.6 comes out with EZ water, which after use in our body, we then sweat or defecate it out, and so on. So breath work, I think, is absolutely vital. I think it's one of the most essential things that's helped my recovery, and it's something that I think is really great for just everyday use, but also right up to elite athletes to try and improve their sport. And again, you can get more details from my breathwork videos, which I will be posting more of soon. And of course, number one is diet. And for those who know my channel, obviously you've seen every other video that on my channel speaks about diet. But for those who don't know, like after 3 years of chemotherapy, much of which did not work, but had a lot of side effects. There were a number of times that the treatment itself almost killed me. I stopped breathing a number of times. My heart went AFib. I had blood clots from my shoulders to my wrist and both arms. I had uncontrollable neutropenic fevers. I was in quarantine. I was all sorts of problems going on because of treatment, not because of actually the cancer. I had a large mass tumor that killed one of my kidneys and almost killed the other one. I am living with just one kidney now. Chemotherapy also kills the enzymes that your organs need. After the transplant, every organ in my body was completely cooked. I was so dried out. I was paralyzed in bed for a long time. I couldn't think. I was pretty much like a dementia patient. I couldn't remember 5 minutes ago. But this all changed when I took on all these habits. For one, it started with the deep breathing, or it started with the breath work, but the biggest changes happened when I took on a high-fat ketogenic style diet, and I started eating like I thought was a caveman diet, to what is now a very high-fat carnivore diet. All I eat is high-fat meats, a good mix of fats. I always mix fats. I love lamb fat, seafood, and beef. I stick to ruminants and seafood if I can, and eggs and water. That's it. I have a good mineral salt, and if you have a look at the rest of my videos, you'll see more about how I eat, what I eat, and why. So I'm not going to go too deep into that today, but this has been not only essential in my recovery, but I think it's essential for everyone's longevity and health long term. I am now, after being through so many treatments and so many medications throughout the years and trying everything, for the last 10 years, I tried the vegan diet, I tried vegetarian, I tried everything. I tried all these special herbs and spices and different fruits that everyone says fights cancer, only to find that it only made things worse. Whereas the high-fat carnivore diet has been not only keeping me in remission, but it's been restoring my health. I'm actually getting healthier than I've been for a very, very long time, probably my whole life. And it is actually, I'm now on 0 medications. My heart is no longer AFib. My kidney is in perfect operation. All my hormone production is in far better shape now than it ever has been. Okay, so these 8 science-backed habits have really helped me to rebuild my whole life, rebuild my health, and more. Diet, breathwork, fasting, sleep, sunlight, grounding, heat and cold treatment, strength training. They've taken me from paralyzed and stuck in bed to thriving. Now 10 years in remission and 0 medications. And that is a real freedom. I am free from the medications. So what's your go-to health habit? Tell me in the comments. And in the next video, I'll show you how you can do 4 of these science-backed habits in just 15 minutes a day. Alright, see you everyone. Stay strong.